Alright, welcome back to another video in the Complete Web Dev series where I am going to take you from a beginner to a job-ready developer. That's my goal anyway, and it's up to you to make it happen. Please let me know how I'm doing in the comments below. That will help me out to stay motivated. I sometimes get demotivated because I don't actually get to see you guys or meet you in person. You guys are looking at me, but I'm looking at a little square camera on my computer screen, and it makes my eyes go all funky and crossed or whatever, because I don't know what it is about my eyes, but I can't look at a camera, which is why my eyes are always wandering around. They don't really do that in real life. Maybe they do, especially if there's a camera around. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. In this video, we're going to try to finish up our default layout and start making that work a little bit. So let's go ahead and switch over to the screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new branch to work on. So we are in video 11 now, so git checkout-b to create a new branch. I'm going to hit v11, and then I'm going to see if I can remember this, git push --set upstream space origin. Let's see if I did it. Oh, I did it. All right, and so now we can go on with video 11. So let's go ahead and look at what we got here. When we left off, we were working on the view. So let's go ahead and close some of this stuff up. We don't need the controller or the router right now. The index.php we can close. Go ahead and leave open your blog controller. You can close the config.php for now, and then leave open your view.php or open that. We're going to do most of our work here. We'll have a little other stuff, but we'll do a lot of it here. All right, the first thing that we want to do is, let me show you exactly how I want this to work, and then we'll try to make that happen. Let me go ahead in my reference materials here, and I want to open up my layout just so that I can see it. Okay, so we have, go ahead and look in your app, views, layouts, and open the default layout here. And what I'd like to do, let's just go ahead and get rid of this default layout like this. And let's go ahead and do exclamation enter, which will create the HTML5 boilerplate. So what I want to be able to do here is we want to, we're going to want to have some body stuff going on here. I'm trying to decide what I want to work on first. Let's go ahead and set this title. And what we can do with this title, and this is going to break right now, but in this title, go ahead and let's put in a PHP tag here. So we're going to open up PHP, and then we're going to echo, so we can do the shorthand there, and we're going to say this get site title, and that's a method we haven't created yet. So let's see if we can get that working first. So let's just see if we can get the site title loading on there. So what we can do now is go to the view, and in the view we want to get the site title, and so let's go down here. Well, maybe just underneath this setter here, let's do a public function, and we might as well create our setter. So we'll do set site title, and we'll pass in a title here, and then what we can do is say this skinny arrow underscore site title is equal to title. So that's our setter because we have a private property there, and then we need our getter, which we just used. So that was the public function get site title, and all this is going to do is return this underscore site title, and we'll save that. And now if we refresh, we look up here, we can see that free skills is in the tab. So we know if I go to view page source, we can see that free skills was echoed inside that title. Now why is it saying free skills? Well, let's go back now, and if you look, remember in our config we were setting free skills as our default site title. So what we can actually do, if you go to the blog here on the index action, we can actually say this view, and we can actually set our site title here if we want, and we can just put blog. Okay, So if I save that and we go back and refresh, and now instead of free skills, it says blog, because I am setting that here before we're rendering it. So that's what that does. Let me go and I'm going to open up my blog controller here. I just want to see what all I did in that index to make sure. Okay, so we did set, instead of blog, let's just set this to newest articles. And that'll be good. And I'll hit save there. So for now, we are setting the site title, and that's all we're doing here in this default view. But let's get a little more complicated. Instead, there's a couple things that I want to be able to do here. First and foremost, let's go ahead and get Bootstrap going. And to do that, just go to your browser and go to getbootstrap.com and click on Get Started here. And I'm going to choose Bootstrap 4.6. We could do 5, I guess, but let's just do 4.6. And you can follow along with that. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and copy this CSS. This will give us a CDN, so we don't actually have to put the files in our directory, but you will have to have internet connection for this to work. But we're going to go ahead and right here below our title, let's go ahead and add, we'll add that, we'll just pasted that link right there. So this will get Bootstrap 4 from that CDN, and it'll be minified there. The other thing I want to do is, like, let's add to our CSS right here. We're going to add a new file called styles.css, and what I'd like to do is load our styles underneath our Bootstrap one here so that we can override some of these Bootstrap if we'd like. So I'm going to do a link, and we'll do a relation. The rel here is going to equal style sheet. And then our href is going to be a little bit interesting, because what we're going to do is we are going to use PHP echo here, and we're going to echo out our root, the root of our project. And remember, we set that in our index.php, and then we're going to be looking for the app/css/styles.css. And the other thing that I want to do here is we're going to add a get variable called v equals, and then we're going to do another a PHP echo, and we're going to echo config get, and we're going to get the version from there. And then we'll go ahead and close the PHP tags here, and then we can go ahead and close this link tag. Now this config isn't going to work here, and that's because we haven't gotten that namespace set. So at the top here, let's just go ahead and open some PHP tags, and we're going to say use core / and then config. Okay, so now that config should work here. And let's look at that real quick, because what I want it to happen here is this version is going to be set to 0.0.1, and that's pretty cool, because what's going to happen is when someone loads our page, it's going to cache this styles. But if we want to make an update to that styles, we don't want people to have a cached version. So what we could do is just increment this number, this version number, the next time we deploy to our live server, and it will set that version as a get variable on the end of the CSS file, and that will actually invalidate the cache and recache the styles.css. So if the styles.css changes, we want to go ahead and do that. We'll also want to do that with any JavaScript files or anything else that we add, so that we can change those on every deploy if we had to, and invalidate people's caches on their browser to stop weird bugs from happening. And I spelled this wrong, so I think that's why we had those squigglies. All right, so I got that taken care of. The next thing that we need to do is go back to our Git Bootstrap, and we need to load our JavaScript here. So if you look here, there's these two lines right here, and we have these two lines. So go ahead and copy that to the clipboard. And then what we're going to do here is underneath our CSS here, we're going to just go ahead and paste that. We'll go ahead and save that. And now if we go back to our website and reload, and we go to view page source, we can see that we're loading in these script tags and these CSS files up here. And in fact, if we right click and click inspect and go to sources, we should be loading from that CDN the JavaScript for Bootstrap 4.6, as well as jQuery, which is needed for Bootstrap 4.6. And then we will also hopefully, where is, oh yeah, we have our CSS is in here as well. So we got our CSS and our JavaScript for Bootstrap. So if that's the case, then you're good to go. We have Bootstrap now loaded to use on our website. So we're going to use Bootstrap just to speed up a few things. So you can go ahead and close Git Bootstrap now, and let's go ahead and leave this view source open here, just because we're going to come back to that. The next thing that I want to do is we want to be able to have in our body, we want to have start putting the contents of our views in here. And so what we can do, the way I want this to work is, let's create a div, and we're going to use some Bootstrap here. We're going to create a div, and we're going to give that a class equal to container dash fluid, and we're going to give it some padding. So we're going to say padding 4. Okay, so these are Bootstrap 4 classes that we have available to us because we just included it. And inside of there, we want to put the content from our website. So what we can do here is we'll just say PHP this content, which is the view, and then we're going to load content right there, just like that. And we'll hit save. And so hopefully, now this, we haven't created this yet, so that's not going to work yet. In fact, we'll get a little error right here. So don't worry too much about that, and let's continue on. Let's actually make this content thing work, which is going to be the most complicated thing of the view. So let's go now to the view class. And what we want to do here is we need to create about 3, possibly 4 methods here. The first method that we want to create to be able to start using this, we're going to go down here to the bottom here, and we'll say public function start, and we're going to pass in a key to that start function, because what I'd like to do is inside of our views, inside of our index page, what I want to do here, instead of just saying h1, is I want to do a PHP, and we're going to say this start, and we're going to start content, and we're going to have our content in the middle there, and then we're going to do this end like this. Okay, the other thing I want to be able to do inside of our views is, if I want to add something to the head element of our layout, we want to be able to do that too. So let's go ahead and just make sure that works, and we'll do this start, and here we're going to say head. So anything that we put in here, we want to insert into our layout, and we'll do this end. This is how I want it to work, and then we can put something up here like, let's just for now put a script tag. And inside that script tag, we're going to say alert head content loaded. That's just a little bit of JavaScript. Don't worry about it now. I know we haven't talked about JavaScript all that much or at all, but just go ahead and put this up here, and this will check if it works. So this isn't going to work either, but this is what we're striving for. We want in our views, we don't have to put a head or content, but if we do, we want to insert this content wherever in our layouts, and we want to do it by this key here. So we'll say this content, and whatever is in our view will get inserted into this layout. And this is going to allow us to have multiple layouts and multiple areas in our layouts that we can just load inside of our views like this. So this is how we want to build out our views. But in order to do that, we've got to do a little bit of work in our view class here. So we created the start method, and what we want to do first in the start method is make sure that the key isn't empty. So we're going to say if empty key. So if they pass in an empty key here, what we're going to do here is throw an exception. So we're going to say throw new exception, and we'll just give them your start method requires a key, a valid key if you want to get more specific. After that though, what we're going to do here is we are going to do something. We're going to set our buffer. So we're going to say this. Now remember, we had this buffer property that we set up here, which is null for now, but now we're going to set that buffer equal to our key. So now the buffer is going to have stored in it this key. So then what we're going to do is we're going to do ob_start. So let's talk about that for a minute. What is ob_start? This is a built-in PHP function that is short for output buffer start. So an output buffer is going to start a buffer, and then anything that happens until we do the end will get put into a buffer, and then we'll be able to echo that contents of that buffer out later. So that is our start method. That's all that's going to do. But now we need to create our end method. So inside of our file, we have this start method, and we're passing in either head or content as our key, and then we're going to actually create an output buffer. The start method will, so whatever's in here is going to be in that output buffer, and then when we do end, we're actually going to print that output buffer to the screen. So let's go ahead and do that now. Public function, and we'll do end, and this won't take any parameters or anything. And what we're going to do here is we're going to check if they haven't started this yet. There'll be an empty buffer. So if we check if empty this buffer, remember the start function sets that buffer. So if it's empty, that means they forgot to run the start function. We're going to tell them that by throwing a new PHP exception that will tell them you must first run the start method. Okay, that's just for our future reference. So in case we don't do that, we will have an exception. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create the content. So what we're going to say here is this underscore content, which was an array, and we're going to pass in as the key of that. We're going to pass in the buffer. Okay, so this underscore buffer will be the key of the content array, and we're going to set that equal to our ob_get clean. Now that's a built-in PHP function. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to set our buffer to be empty. So we're going to go back to this buffer is going to equal null. So we've used the buffer here and we set it to this content, and then the buffer gets set to null on the end function. So the end function is going to take the contents, and that's what this ob_get clean does. So the ob_start is going to start a buffer. This is going to end the buffer, and we're going to set it to this content array. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. The last thing that we've got to do to actually use this is we need to create the content method here. So skip down below that method here and create a new public function called content. And now the content is also going to take a key. And what we want to do here is we're going to say if array key exists. So we want to check in our you remember in our end function we set this content array up, so we want to check in that and make sure that the key exists. So we're going to say if array key exists, and we're checking key, and then we're going to check this underscore content. So if that exists, then what we're going to do is we're going to echo content, and content will be equal to, so actually we're going to echo this underscore content key. Else just so this fails gracefully, we will echo an empty string. I think that'll be fine. So now, if this works, we should be able to refresh here, and now we get this welcome to our blog, so it kind of looks the same, but let's go now and look at the source of this. And now what you can see is that the source, we have this welcome to our blog right here, and it's plugged into our container fluid with our P4 class. Now that's pretty cool. And now we have this padding here around our content. So we haven't really built out our layout yet, but this is coming right along. Now, we didn't have our little alert happen, and that's because in our default layout, we didn't add that. So what I'd like to do is up here, right before the closing of our head, let's go ahead and do a PHP this content, and we're going to spit out the contents of the output buffer from the head here and save that. And now if I refresh, there should be a JavaScript alert pop up, and there it is. If I refresh, the JavaScript alert pops up, it says head content loaded. We'll hit OK, and then it goes and loads the rest of our blog. Now, if we go back here and refresh, you can see that script tag be put in right here, right before that head tag, and that's exactly where we put it in our inside of our default layout. So now what's really powerful about this is we have this layout that we can work with, and our views are going to all share the same layout. So we're not going to have to do this over and over and over again like we did in the procedural one. All we have to do is create a new view now and use the start and end methods and put whatever we want in our layout into that section. So we can make as many sections as we want. So we just arbitrarily create this key here, and we set it, and then we can use that by saying this content and then using that same key wherever we want to in our layout. So that's really, really powerful, and allows us to create many different layouts on our website if we want, or reuse the same layout, and then in each one of our pages, if you will, or views, we don't have to actually do the whole HTML file. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this head because we don't need that. I just put that there to make sure it worked. And if we go back and refresh, you can see that there's no head there. And if I refresh here, there's no more JavaScript alert, but we do have this welcome to our blog here. So that's awesome. We are now to the point, if you've done this, we have this start, end, and content that will allow us to, create really dynamic websites and do very, very little coding inside of each view at that point. So we only thing we're gonna have to add to our views is what we actually want inserted into our layout. So one second. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that, guys. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little complicated, and again, this is more code than you would normally have to do. But I think as we build this out and you see how little code we actually have to do to actually build the pages, you're gonna be like, oh, now I'm starting to understand why we did that extra work to build out this view class the way that we did, because it's gonna make the rest of our stuff super easy. Now, later we're gonna add just maybe 1 or 2 more methods to this, just to add a little bit more functionality here. Not much, maybe it's just 1 more. And we'll just do that as we go and as we need it. But for now, we can have as many layouts as we want, and we can have as many views as we want. And what's really powerful is we can reuse these views in multiple places, with even in different layouts. And so that is another really awesome way to do this, that we can share code between our views and even serve those up in different layouts if we need to. All right, guys, well, I think we're going to end the video there. So let's go ahead and jump over and make sure we are committing this to Git. So I'm going to do a Git Status. And you can see all the files that we've modified and added here that aren't staged, and we'll stage those by saying git add period. And then what we're going to do is, if I do a Git Status again, you can see that those have been staged and are ready to be committed. So let's go ahead and git commit those and do a -m for a commit message, and we will say finished up the you know what, output buffers. We'll hit enter, and then let's go ahead and do git push. So there you can, if yours isn't working, you can go ahead and check out or look on the GitHub repository down in the description and look at this branch and see what maybe you have missed that I got done. And so this would be exactly where I'm leaving off in this 11th video. So then I'm going to go ahead and check out main, and I will merge v11 into main and push that as well. So I hope you guys are really enjoying this series. Let me know in the comments if you had any big aha moments in this video, or if you're confused, that's fine too. Again, we will continue to go through, and I think once we've built out more of the page and we kind of start putting it together, you're gonna really start to love this. All right guys, I will see you later.